By nightfall, Kwame reached the ruins of Nyama. The city, once a beacon of power and wealth, was now nothing more than a decaying skeleton. Crumbling stone buildings lay tangled in vines, golden statues stood shattered and forgotten, and the grand palace, once said to gleam under the sun, was now nothing more than a ruin consumed by darkness. And at the heart of it all, atop a broken stairway, stood the throne of Nyama. It was the only thing untouched by time. Crafted from ivory and obsidian, it stood tall, regal, and strangely inviting. As Kwame approached, the air around him grew heavy. A deep, chilling voice echoed through the ruins. "You seek to break the curse," the voice rumbled. "But do you know the true price?" A figure appeared before the throne. It was a man, draped in royal robes, his face half hidden in shadow. But Kwame recognized him instantly, from the stories, from the legends. King Zuberi. "The kingdom fell because of your greed," Kwame said, gripping his spear. "Because you abandoned the spirits." King Zuberi nodded, stepping closer. His voice was calm, yet filled with regret. "And now you stand here, ready to claim the throne. But if you take it, the spirits will ask for something in return." Kwame hesitated. "What do they ask?" "You must sacrifice yourself," the spirit said. "To restore Nyama, a life must be given. Only through your death will the land be reborn." The weight of the words crushed down on Kwame like a mountain. Was this the price of redemption? Had he come all this way, only to give up his own life? He looked around, the dead city, the broken ruins, the empty streets where laughter once rang. Was it worth it? His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Go to the ruins of Nyama, find the truth, break the curse." Kwame turned to the throne. His decision was made. Slowly, he stepped forward, ready to accept his fate. Chapter 3. The Price of Redemption. Kwame stood before the throne of Nyama, his heart pounding like the distant drums of a forgotten war. The ghostly figure of King Zuberi loomed above him, his spectral gaze heavy with expectation. "A life must be given," the dead king had said. "Only through sacrifice will the land be reborn." The words echoed in Kwame's mind. Was this truly the only way? Had he come all this way just to trade his own life for Nyama's redemption? He thought of his mother's final plea. He thought of the spirits watching from the unseen world. He thought of the suffering that had plagued this land for centuries. Kwame stepped forward, gripping his spear tightly. "If my life is the price for Nyama's rebirth," he whispered, "then I am ready." But just as he raised his spear, preparing to drive it into his own heart, the ghost of King Zuberi raised a hand. "Wait." Kwame froze. His breath came in short gasps. "Why do you stop me?" The spirit of the king studied him carefully. Then, in a voice heavy with centuries of sorrow, he said, "Because you have already passed the final trial." Kwame's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Zuberi stepped closer, his transparent form flickering like a dying flame. "The trial of the throne was never about taking your life," the ghost said. "It was about testing your heart." The realization hit Kwame like thunder. The spirits had been watching. They wanted to see if he would fall to greed as Zuberi had, if he had refused to sacrifice himself, if he had clung to life out of selfishness. The curse would have remained forever. But he had been willing to give up everything, not for power, not for glory, but for the people. King Zuberi let out a long sigh, his spectral form seeming lighter than before. "For centuries I have been bound to this place, my soul cursed for my failures. But at last, a worthy ruler has come." A great wind howled through the ruins, carrying with it the whispers of the spirits. The earth shook beneath Kwame's feet and the very air seemed to shift. Then, from the depths of the sky, light descended, soft and golden, like the first rays of morning after a long night. The throne of Nyama glowed, its ancient magic awakening, and with it, the land itself stirred to life. Kwame watched in awe as the ruins around him began to change. The broken buildings mended themselves, vines unraveling as if time itself were reversing. The darkened sky grew clear, the air fresh with the scent of rain. The blackened rivers shimmered blue once more, water flowing freely as the land drank deeply. The golden light spread outward, touching the earth, the trees, the hills. Everywhere it touched, life returned. The spirits long abandoned were appeased. The curse had been broken. King Zuberi's form began to fade, his expression one of peace. "At last," he murmured, "the gods have forgiven us." Kwame reached out. "Wait, what happens now?" The spirit smiled. "Now, Nyama belongs to its people once more." With that, the ghost vanished, his soul finally free. News of Kwame's victory spread like wildfire. From the farthest villages, from the deepest jungles, people came. The descendants of those who had fled Nyama centuries ago returned home. They found a land reborn, fields ripe with crops, rivers brimming with fish, and a palace that stood tall once more. And at its heart, they found Kwame. He stood before the throne, but he did not sit upon it. He had not done this for power. He had done it for balance. And so, rather than rule alone, Kwame became the guardian of Nyama, ensuring that the mistakes of the past were never repeated. He gathered wise leaders, healers, and warriors who had learned the lessons of the fallen kingdom. Together, they built a new Nyama, not one ruled by greed but by wisdom. And so, the forgotten kingdom was no longer lost. It had been found once more. The spirits still watch. Years passed. Kwame grew older, his name spoken in songs and legends. One night, as he stood at the edge of the river, watching the moon's reflection ripple in the water, he heard a familiar voice on the wind, his mother's voice. "You have done well, my son." Kwame smiled. The spirits still watched, and as long as Nyama honored them, the land would never fall again.